Channel 4 presents the Indiana University Little 500. Highlights of the pre-race activities and the exciting action of the bicycle race held earlier today.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 10th Street Stadium here at Indiana University, where Channel 4 is here to bring you the 28th running of the annual Indiana University Little 500, the weekend that has been called the world's greatest college weekend, and not by just people here at Indiana University. I'm Doug Rafferty. I'll be your host this afternoon for the broadcast. We tend to bring you a lot of things, not only just the Little 500, but a lot of the events that are associated with the Little 500 celebration every year. We have a four-person broadcast crew today that'll probably bring you the best coverage we've ever had of this race. First of all, on the field this year for us for the first time, Gloria Joseph. Gloria, you'll have the mini cam and be picking things up down here.
Well, I'm really looking forward to talking with everybody and seeing just what happens on the infield.
Looks like a good race this year. Back again with us for the second year is Barbara Stock. And Barb will be up with us in the broadcast booth today, and I know you got a lot of things to tell us about.
A lot of fun facts to know and tell. I'm going to be sharing them with everyone. It's good to be back with you again.
It's good to have you with us. Also with us for the second year in a row, Steve Frobeater, who we consider to be an expert qualified person on this race. Steve, close race.
Close race, Doug. Very competitive field. Not much time from front to back. Look for a great race.
That's the way things shape up. And in just a moment, we'll be back to bring you the start of the Indiana University Little 500.
Coach Charlie Albert, the winning regatta canoe champions for 1978. Let's give them a big hand as they move around the track.
We are preparing now for the start of the 28th running of the Indiana University Little 500. We are about to take the pace lap. These riders will start off following the official pace car of the Indianapolis 500. They will follow it around the track. Now, the track is numbered in terms of 1, 2, 3, and 4, although the actual curved ends don't give you any impression of a separation of turns. As they come out of the fourth and final turn, if everything looks good, they will be given a signal at the starting line, and Howdy Wilcox will wave the green flag to send these guys on their way for a 200-lap, 50-mile bicycle race. The pace lap has begun. Start off at a relatively slow pace, but Steve, once they hit that green light, it'll pick up very quickly.
Doug, the officials will be looking for even rows, 11 of them, spacing between bikes within the row, 3 abreast. Only if they come out in 11 clear rows of 3 will they give them the green flag, and Chap Blackwell is prepared to do that now at the start-finish line as the pack moves through the second turn and down the back straightaway.
Phi Kappa Epsilon, the #1 team, moves past its pit. They get a big rousing cheer from that, as do all the teams as they go by their respective pit locations, which are located along the straightaways at both sides of this track. They're moving now into turn number 3. We would caution or expect that at the beginning of this race, when things are so bunched up, so tightly put together, and you have 33 teams in a very short span of distance on this track, that there are often accidents that occur early. The pace car now is accelerating down the straightaway. We approach the start of the 28th annual Indiana University Little 500. They have the green, and there they go.
Doug, we're racing for the
turn number 1. Steve, it looks like Delta Chi is going to lead them through turn number 1. The guys in the yellow jersey.
Doug, the leaders are going to try to pull a half a lap or a lap apiece and try to string this pack out so that we don't have large packs in the corners.
These guys are moving at a very, very fast pace as they go through. One of the quickest starts we've seen in a long time here at the Little 500, and Delta Chi leads them as they come around for the completion of lap number 1.
Doug, that was a 33-second lap, way below the average of the practice start that they had last Monday. We have a record
turn number 1. Down in turn number 1, we've got a number of riders down. That's what we cautioned you about. The yellow flag has come out. In turn number 1, these riders are signaling for their teams to get down there with extra bicycles, because these bikes are very fragile and they do break when they get in a wreck like this. Very often a bike will not be rideable when it comes out.
It seems that everyone is up from that, so there's no problem there. But
looks
catching up is going to be difficult.
Looks like no injury, but some teams are going to have some. And the green flag's back out. Steve, that's as fast as I've seen a green flag come back after a wreck like that.
Well, luckily we didn't have a serious injury, it appears. There were 7 bikes down in that collision, and it was towards the back of the pack. And now these teams are going to have to try to catch back up that pack or be lost out of contention.
Now we see why they warn everyone not to try to win the race in the first 2 laps. Everyone gets so excited that they just can't hold back.
That's exactly right.
It's surprising that Phi Kappa Epsilon did place first. 2 years ago, they didn't even qualify for the race.
That's right, but they've come back strong and kept we have to do it attitude, and that's the kind of attitude that most of these teams do exhibit here year after year. Steve, that front pack got through all right. There was nobody down up toward the front of it. Delta Chi, Phi Kappa Epsilon, they're all still in there and going very well.
I think that the wreck occurred in the second part of the pack, and these teams I know consider themselves extremely lucky to be up and out of that. We have decreased the size of the contenders right now until these other teams can get back in it.
Steve, one of the teams that did not go down, although they started down at number 17th position, they managed to stay up with all of that, was team number 17. That's Dot's House. They didn't qualify last year for the first time ever in the history of this race, and they got through that all right. For a young team, they're doing very well.
Well, Doug, they moved up very quickly right off the start, and with that wreck, that appears to be extremely fine strategy to get up. Our statistician has just handed me a watch. The last lap was 36.7. It slowed down a bit from the first lap, but that should be expected as they get in their racing stride with a speed that they'll be keeping throughout the rest of the afternoon.
That adrenaline pumps quite a bit on those first couple of laps.
Steve, tell us about the strategies these teams use.
Well, the teams are going to attempt to they generally going to start off with their most experienced rider because that first couple of laps with the large pack is a very critical time in the race, as we've just seen. Depending upon how long they want that first rider on and the strategy of whether they want that first rider saved for the final few trophy dash laps will determine when they pit that rider. I would look for them about 15 or 20 laps to start bringing those lead riders in and getting the rest of their team up on the pedals. It's a critical point in the race to have all of your riders get the kinks out early on and settle down for the second half of the race.
That pack that we're watching now go around contains 22 bicycles, and most of those bikes you'll find are on the same lap right now. They're all staying together, setting up a quick pace, but not any sort of a record-breaking pace at this point as we go around.
The ideal place to be at this point is up in the first 3 or 4 spots. Here you have some windshield as well as being a good.
You watch them as they go through turn number 3 and into turn number 4. Team number 10 crossing your picture there first. That's Hummer House. And I'm not sure, I believe they were involved in that first wreck. I think they dropped back a little bit and got involved in it.
Doug, they're hitting racing speed now. They're at 36.5 to 37.5 every lap. That's just about where they're going to keep it until we have a yellow flag again.
Steve, there you see the pack as it goes down that backstretch, punched together very tightly. These guys are going through almost 4 or 5 abreast, and that can get to be a very dangerous situation as you get to the outside of the track.
Well, Doug, I think our viewers can see that there is just no room. They're running wheel to wheel. Of course, they've practiced this for the last 3 or 4 weeks, running wheel to wheel very tight, and they're very comfortable in there. They trust one another, and they must.
These guys work together all during the month of April, although their track time has been cut down quite a bit this month from what it normally has. A number of factors affecting that, one being the cold crunch here at Indiana University, which caused a 3-week spring break, and that kept people away from the track and in other parts of the world for a time. There's been a lot of rain here this past week. The guys didn't get any practice time other than last Monday as far as the race itself is concerned, and they had a practice start then. But other than that, there hasn't been a lot of practice time for them, or at least not as much as they would like.
There's going to be a lot of close competition. There's only 12 seconds separating the first and the last pole position teams.
That's right, Barb, and that's, as Steve alluded to earlier, that's what kept this thing very competitive, and is going to give us a good race all afternoon, or at least we anticipate that. So, Barb, there were some other events that are associated with this Little 500 celebration all during the month of May, or during the month of April, rather, and I know you have going to tell us about some of those.
That's right. Regatta 78 proved that you don't have to qualify high to win a regatta. This year's paddle boat winners moved up 42 places to claim their victory, and Gloria was there to tell us about it.
Whirling winds made the 50-degree temperatures even more unbearable last Sunday when the 11th annual regatta got underway at Lake Monroe. The overcast sky, coupled with wind, forced many regatta spectators to take refuge in blankets, warm cars, and extra clothing. Even the rain didn't dampen spirits much. Rooting for their favorite team, sideliners held their breath to encourage the two-girl, two-guy paddleboat team and the canoe racers to remain on the course and not to foul themselves from competition in the race. As the canoe and paddleboat races loomed on, I had a chance to talk with Bob Galovic, one of the 1978 regatta chairmen.
What would you say makes this regatta any different from the others?
Well, the fact that we've been here 10 times before is probably the most experiencing thing about it. I think the thing that's a little bit different today is the weather conditions mostly. We're having a little trouble moving the paddle boats along the lanes, but as far as that goes, our times have been consistent with the canoes.
I noticed that you had 4 girls tip over. Do you think the wind had anything to do with that?
Yes, in the beginning here, we had a little wind that picked up. It's died down now. I think that was a contributing cause this afternoon.
Now, how is it that you can win? Tell me a little bit about the paddle boat race and the canoe race.
Okay. We start off last Saturday, qualification day. We sent 156 teams out in total. They qualified in the top 63 positions. We took 63 canoe teams and 63 paddleboat teams, and then from there, we flighted them in 3 different flights. We had 21 teams in the first flight, 21 teams in the second and third. And as you go along your flighting, the top 7 teams hopefully will finish together. And if that does indeed happen, then we'll just go from there. But they'll have to go all the way. They'll run 5 times in total to win the regatta.
All right, now what does it mean to have won a pole position for the canoe or the paddleboat race?
Okay, the significance of the pole position is that they are placed along with the first teams in the other flights. Supposedly, they'll have the easiest route to go, and it does in fact happen that way. It has happened in the past, and the Evans Scholar was the pole sitter last year. Or no, they came off of the bottom sitter, and they had the pole position this year until the Dodds House took it away. So that's our pole position this year.
All right. Thanks very much for your time.
But this year's pole sitters did not capture the big spot. First place awards went out to Sigma Pi in the paddleboat competition for a time of 1 minute, 2.73 seconds, and to the Alpha Phi sorority for a time of 20.4 seconds in the canoe race.
Coming toward the finish line right now to complete lap number 46, team number 16, Sigma Phi Epsilon. They managed to break. They are now 12 seconds ahead of their next competition in this race. Back on lap 13, we had an accident that occurred right on the main stretch in front of our vantage point here. A rider went down in the process of making an exchange. And we can take a look at it. You'll see him tumble by your screen here in just a moment. As we take a look at it on our slow motion instant replay, this occurred on lap number 13, gave us a short yellow light. There you see the rider going down after trying to exchange the bike with one of the other riders of his team. We couldn't make out a team number on that for you. It's one of the things that can occur. Team number 16 is your leader right now as we come around on lap 47. Just a few moments ago, Gloria Joseph talked down on the field with President of the Student Foundation, Joe Hogsett. Let's check that out right now, Gloria.
Joe Hogsett is with me today. He is the president of the IU Student Foundation, and he's from Rushville, Indiana. Joe, give me some kind of an idea of how much money is generated from the Little 500 race each year.
Well, not only the race, but also the regatta and the mini and all the other Little 500 events are all money makers for us, and we make around $100,000 a year. That's our annual budget.
That's quite a huge sum of money. And
yes.
How much does a race itself cost?
Well, the race itself varies from year to year, and although I don't know in exact figures, it is a majority of our budget, certainly.
And the money goes to scholarships, correct?
All profit is channeled back into student scholarship programs.
All right. All right, and there's about $10,000 given away in scholarships each year.
Right.
All right. Now we're going to go back to Doug in the race.
The leader in the race, make that Sigma Phi Epsilon. They are coming around. They complete lap 48 when they cross the line. Team number 16, they started well back in the race. They got a good break on a yellow light and were up front. And they are now 12 to 14 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack in this race. They are the leaders. They are in a good and a very solid position this early in the race as we approach the 1/4 mark.
Doug, the pack has cut that lead to 10.5 seconds. Sigma Phi Epsilon, under the coaching of Tom Battle, is out there with the break, and the pack appears to be catching up. They had a full straightaway lead moments ago, and now they're down to 3/4 of a straightaway. And this is what it's going to take to get these teams back in the race.
Barbara, Sigma Phi Epsilon is no stranger to the winner's circle.
No, they're not. They won in 1970. They had a time of 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 56 seconds.
And during that year, the guy who's coaching them this year, Tom Battle, was on the bike. He was an all-star rider that year and has also later been named to the Hall of Fame. So they've got quite a bit of experience sitting in their corner. We just completed lap 49 as the teams go around.
We were talking about the Hall of Fame. There are quite a number of honors that are bestowed upon riders every year. The Hall of Fame is just one of them. It's voted on by members of the teams, and that's why it's so prestigious. This year's winner is Gary Rybar. He is a member of Delta Chi. He rode for them 4 years, winning 3 out of 4 years and placing second 1 year. Last year he rode 90 laps for them, and he is their coach this year, so he has been quite involved, and he's certainly deserving of the honor.
Yes, he is. The leader in this race, Sigma Phi Epsilon, they have just completed lap number 50. We are 1/4 of the way through this 50-mile, 200-lap bicycle race here at Indiana University this afternoon.
Doug, the lead has been cut now to just over 6 seconds. And if Sigma Phi Epsilon doesn't pick it up, they're going to lose all the work that they've done for the last 20 laps.
One of the teams that we figured to be right up in front and all the way along in this race was Delta Chi. They've won it 4 of the last 5 years. However, due to an unfortunate set of circumstances, they have become now a lap down on the leader as they cross the start-finish line. They're right in back of team number 16, Sigma Phi Epsilon, but they are a lap down. That is a position that no one wants to be in this race, and so far a number of teams have gotten into that position thanks to an early wreck in the first part of the race, a couple of other minor accidents that really affected only 1 or 2 teams at a time, and they have gotten down, and that's a bad position to be in. They'll be working to get themselves out of that situation.
Doug, the leader, Sigma Phi Epsilon, has lost another second on the 51st lap, and they're now only up 5 seconds.
5-second split as we complete lap 52 of this 200-mile lap, Indiana University Little 500.
Let's go now to Gloria, who was at Monday's student style show entitled City Rhythms.
New York City Rhythms were sung by the City Rhythm Review at the 10th Annual Little 500 Style Show. All the clothes were beautiful. They range from casual wear to weather wear to country wear to after-6 wear. I talked with co-chairman Becky Tippie and Jeff Elliott about the new disco theme.
This is the what annual style show this year?
This is the 10th annual style show.
Now you've got something new planned. You're doing this all to a disco scene. Tell me about it, Becky.
Well, it's always been a little bit of disco to the past. This year we've put more into it. Just about every scene consists of the disco, and as you know, our theme is after New York City rhythms, and so we have Barry Manilow, New York City rhythm. We have Rocky in the sportswear. We have Peg. What is some of the other?
Saturday Night
Fever. And the models themselves are doing some dancing up and down the runway.
How many hours of practice has it taken for everyone to coordinate their steps, to learn the dances, for the musicians to get together? Especially with spring break, I bet you've been in a real big rush.
Well, since we had 2 weeks, unaccounted for, there's been a big surge to practice a lot harder and everything. So for the last 2 weeks, we've had practice every night for 2 hours, and sometimes longer.
Jeff's been out here about on an 18-hour daily basis, I think.
What's the most exciting part, you think?
Sitting back and seeing it happen. I mean, watching our work,
seeing it all culminate.
Well, we're going to take a look right now at the style show, so thank you very much for talking to me. Carrying out a 21-year tradition, Indiana University alumni and friends paired into 18 groups of 4 at Friday's Little 500 Golf Jamboree. The game is a 4-man best ball scramble. Each member of the team tees off on each hole, and then the team selects the best ball according to distance and position. Each team member drops his ball at the spot selected and hits from there, and then it is onto the green. At that point, the easiest putt is chosen, the ball is marked, and each team member putts from the spot. This sequence continues until the team has holed out. And this year's Jamboree, the team of Bill Day, Bob Battaglia Sr., Bob Battaglia Jr., and Chat Blackwell finished with 5 under par, making them the first place winners.
As we come around a complete lap 96, team number 17, Dodds House, is broken away for an exchange. In second place, team number 4, that is Phi Kappa Psi. Your leader earlier in this race, Sigma Phi Epsilon, dropped an exchange, lost time to the pack. They are now more than a lap down as it stands. They led early in the race, but they lost ground. Dodds House, team number 17, throwing an exchange right now at their pit.
Clean exchange.
They're back on the bike. Steve, they're ahead.
Yeah, Doug, they're going to slip back in the pack in the lead. That is the way you want to throw an exchange. You want to have a good burn lap. We talk about a burn lap. That's 1 or 2 laps before your scheduled exchange. You sprint away from the pack. That way, when you slow down during your exchange, the pack just catches up with you, and you're right there, and you're in the lead.
Okay, we just completed 97 laps, excuse me, Barb, and Dodds House still in the lead as they go down the backstretch, and they're about 25 to 30 yards ahead of the rest. You see it there on your screen from our third turn camera vantage position. That first rider on your picture is the leader.
It would be interesting if Dodds House won. They've never won before, and as a matter of fact,
it appears that they're trying to string it out, and the pack is spreading out, trying to catch him. Some of those people that want to stay right there with the leader.
Right, team number 17, your leader. In second place, team number 4, Phi Kappa Psi. And we're coming around.
The first 6 teams are within 2 seconds of each other. Within 2 seconds of each other. The leader, team number 4, Phi Kappa Psi.
We've completed 97 laps in this race.
2 minutes and 9 seconds. Your average speed 22.
Dodds House is the leader. Team number 9 that you see on your screen, that is Kappa Sigma.
2 seconds behind.
We have completed now 98 laps, approaching the halfway point.
In fourth place, team number 7, Alpha Epsilon.
Doug, there are over 25 bikes in the lead pack, although some of them are a couple of laps down or a lap down. They're still riding right there, wheel to wheel, and that could become a problem here at the midpoint in the race when legs get tired, heads get tired, and bob down.
Let's correct ourselves, Steve. We completed 99 laps. As they come around, this will be the halfway point of the race. Halfway home on a 50-mile, 200-lap event.
Doug, we have a wreck in the third turn.
Have some riders down in the third turn. Steve, it was people back in the pack. We come around for the halfway point. Team number 17, the second bike to cross. Dodds House is your leader. Second place, Phi Kappa Psi, a former winner.
was mentioning a minute ago that Dodd's House has never won, and the last time a non-fraternity team won was in 1955, which I thought was rather surprising. It was a South Cottage Grove team. So they weren't even a dorm team.
That's also the team, Barb, that has come from furthest behind to win. They started in number 14th, in the 14th position that year, so they hold the record for coming back to actually win the race from the farthest position back.
Well, if Dodd's House wins today, that's 17th. They'd be moving up quite a bit.
They've never won. They've tried very hard, though. We have a good race going right now. It's a race that is running not at record proportions, but still very quickly. We're in excess of 22 miles an hour if you're looking at miles per hour type speed in this race. And it will probably average out somewhere in that range over the distance of 200 laps. 22 miles per hour plus. And when you stop to think that you're taking human bodies, pumping these machines for 200 laps, 50 miles, that's quite an effort out of 4 guys for each team. Steve, I think the lap record as far as the number of laps rode in a race by one rider, that belongs to whom?
That belongs to Wayne Stetton of the Delta Chi team in 1973. They won. He rode 144 of the 200 laps.
Ouch.
Of course, Wayne went on.
That's right.
Wayne went on to be the Olympic rider for 2 Olympiads and is now the American road race champion.
We had a problem there on the backstretch. You just saw a rider picking up a bike on an exchange, got in the way of somebody else. He moved over. That took several bicycles down. Checking some of those numbers that went down in that was back of the pack. Team number 6, who was down in this race, Theta Chi and a couple of others went down. Your leaders stayed intact. Barb?
Little 500 doesn't end with the bike race, although we often think it does. The Cream and Crimson football game tomorrow marks the opening of the spring football season, and Gloria talked with Coach Corso about the upcoming 1978 season.
I'm with Lee Corso this morning. We're talking about the upcoming Cream and Crimson game. Tell me just how that's going to be as a preview for the 1978 season.
Well, I think people can get a pretty good indication of what kind of team we're going to have. Basically, what we've done, we've been out there 19 days now, and this is like a final examination. The fact is that we try to grade our guys after every practice, and hopefully they're going to get better every time they're on the field. And then at the final examination is Sunday. And then we take all these grades and put them into one pot and come out, and we rank the guys 1, 2, 3, 4 in each position on the depth chart, and that's where they start in the fall of 1978.
How's your spring training going so far?
So far, it's been terrific. We've got a great attitude. We've got good people out there, and I've always said you win with good people. With character, not characters, you know, and so we've had a good practice. They've worked hard. They're much better now than they started, so obviously it was worthwhile, and we have a pretty good indication now on who's going to play in which positions. We know what they can do, and now all we have to do is kind of put this together next year as a football team.
Okay, tell me a little bit about the standouts.
Well, you know, the same guys that stood out last year are back again, like Arnett, the quarterback. In the last 2 weeks, he's been outstanding. Joe Norman is probably the best linebacker this school has had in a long time. He's doing a great job. And guys like Mark Heidel, Jeff Phipps, that you never hear about because they're blocking real well, and guys like Al Leak, the defensive tackle, and Abrams, the defensive back, and Kniep. These guys are all established stars, quote unquote, and I think they're just doing as well as they've always done, and in fact a little bit better in some cases.
That sounds real good. As far as injuries are concerned, we've heard a little bit about the starters' injuries. How serious are they, and will that dampen any spirits, do you think?
Well, I don't think it'll dampen this spirit because we haven't had them out there all spring. But it would hurt us drastically if they did not come back in the fall. But we expect that all the guys will be back, like Burnett and Herringody and Peacock. I'm just trying to name them, Smith and McIntosh and Hartgrave. All of these guys in Tisdale are expected to be back next fall. And if we can get them all back, we could have a pretty good shot at the Big Ten title. If we don't get them back, then it'll be a struggle to have great football.
So what you're saying is that there's no real serious injuries at this point?
Not right now. There's nobody right now that we're counting on next fall, and that's a blessing because basically they don't care how you look Saturday. It's what you look like when we play LSU in Baton Rouge next fall.
Yes. Well, as far as the starting game is concerned, do you have any specific anticipations for that game?
Well, I tell you what, it's going to be a tremendous thrill for us to go down there because basically LSU is supposed to have a championship-type program. We're playing in front of 78,000 people who just...
Big arena.
Tremendous place and great enthusiasm.
Right,
you get there about 6 o'clock and all of them are ready to go. And the fact that we ruined their season, quote-unquote, that they said last year by upsetting them here in our stadium, it all leads to a tremendous physical and a great emotional game, which I love because I tell you what, that ought to be a good test for our kids, and I think they'll enjoy that kind of competition. That's why they came to Indiana University in the first place, to get first-class competition.
And talking about tests, we're going to see a test tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. right here on the Hoosiers field.
As they come around to complete lap 148, we're preparing to complete the three-quarter mark of this race. Teams up front, and it's varying quite a bit. Phi Kappa Psi, team number 8, team number 7, Alpha Epsilon Pi, team number 17, Dodds House, team number 13, Sigma Nu are the leaders. Those positions are changing back and forth as things go. The first row, the entire first 3 teams in the race, they are all back at least 1 lap due to some unfortunate circumstances that they've encountered today. One of the all-star riders, one of the great riders that's ever participated in this event, a guy by the name of Wayne Stetna, who rode for Delta Chi. And Gloria Joseph talked with him on the field.
I'm talking to a man who's a legend in his own time. That's Wayne Stetna. In 1973, he managed to ride 144 laps, which is about 3/4 of the race.
That was one of the hardest races of my entire life. I'd have to say that people think that this race could be easy if you're a good enough rider, but anytime you ride a bike that's that heavy, it's hard to ride.
Now, you said you wanted to race in this year's race. However, there are some new qualifications, and you could not make it in. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think basically the problem, I've been on 2 Olympic teams and 1 Pan American Games team, and they feel that that was a little bit too professional for the amateur spirit that they wanted, and they're afraid that the race would be dominated by people. But then they kept out all Category 1 and 2 riders in the Federation, which does not really mean those riders were that qualified. I'd suggested they could keep me out of the race and put in, there was an independent team that was very strong, that had guys that were truly amateurs that had just pursued cycling over the summer, and they decided to keep everybody out at the same time to make sure that the fraternities could continue to dominate it.
A one-word summarization of that ruling would be what then, Wayne?
Well, I think they took the people that had the most ability and experience out, and then there were not, the team that replaced that team would be one that's most likely to cause wrecks. And if your experienced riders are here training, then the other riders are going to learn a lot more, and it's going to be a faster, safer, and closer race.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to Doug now.
The teams are working on lap 149 right now. It'll be 149 laps complete when they come around. We have 4 teams up front, Steve.
Doug, it's shaping up to be a very exciting finish at the three-quarter point. We've got people down. We have got a lot of people down.
Big wreck in turn number 3. Turn number 3, let's check it for you. One of the leaders, or did we have any leaders down in there? Most of the leaders got through it, Steve.
Doug, I see, yes, all 4 of our leaders are through, it appears to me. We'll check that right now. Doug, there are some serious problems in turn 3. It appears that the stewards are out there cleaning it. I see them sweeping. The bikes are riding on the outside of the track. We might get green. Chief Steward Bernard Loft is on the platform, and he's debating on the green flag.
Let's check and see as we come around.
Yeah.
We have the green light. Green light is back on. We're racing again on lap 152. Number 17, that's the Dodds House. They've never won it. They've tried very hard. They were not even in it last year, and they are one of your leaders right now. Barbara, one of my favorite events is the Mini.
Mine too. And the IU Student Foundation took full advantage of the Star Wars movie popularity this year and brought us Star Trikes as the theme of this year's Mini. R2-D2 would have loved it, and so did Gloria Joseph, who was on hand to cover it for Channel 4.
All righty.
We're here at the 24th annual mini race. This is as quiet as it's been in just a few moments. We're getting ready for semifinal competition right now. This is a race of firsts. There are 2 men in the race this year, which is something very new and different. You can hear people getting ready for the excitement as the tension builds here. Let's take a look at the race. The final heat is coming up. and Science Fiction Club decided to come down and really help carry out the theme of Star Wars. Joining me tonight is the one and only Darth Vader. Would you like to say something to us, Darth?
I'm glad to be down here tonight, and I'm having a great time, and I hope to be around for a while.
Could you introduce me to your two friends here?
All right. This is the Snitch, who works for the Empire.
Hello, Snitch.
Hello there.
And here we have Chewbacca, right?
Right.
Chewbacca, who do you play in the movie Star Wars? What part do you play in the movie Star Wars?
I'm one of the good guys.
How are you helping carry out the theme of Star Trek this year?
Well, they figured that the costuming we have kind of fit in with the theme, so they invited us to come down, and we decided that would be fun. So here we are.
Thank you.
Come on. Get set.
Delta Zeta, the pole sitters, just won the 28th annual Mini here in the IU Assembly Hall. They're very ecstatic, as you can see. Delta Zetas are #1 tonight, but there is also a close second and third. Second is an independent team, the front runners, and third were the Thetas. Congratulations to all the teams. I know they worked really hard.
Come around to complete lap 194. We approach the conclusion of this little 500 bicycle race. Team number 4 and team number 7 are in the lead. That's Phi Kappa Psi and Alpha Epsilon Pi. They've been up front throughout this race. One of the leaders earlier, Dodds House, number 17, had an unfortunate circumstance on lap 169, and they lost a lap at that point. They haven't been able to undo that. As we come around, they are working lap 194 right now. We'll make that working lap 195. We come around to complete lap 195 in this 200 lap event, Steve, and it's picking up.
Oh, Doug, the crowd is getting excited. They should be 4 teams on the same lap all together. We're going to have a trophy dash.
As they came across, completing lap 195, team number 8, Phi Kappa Psi, was in the lead. They're in the light blue jerseys. They're breaking away a little bit from the back right now. We look for an exchange. You see them making it on the left corner of your screen there. They changed bikes. That's likely the last rider they'll put on in this race. They're right back up in front of the pack as they go for turn number 3. Right there with them in the red jersey with black sleeves, team number 7, Alpha Epsilon Pi. Team number 4, Phi Kappa Psi, in the green and white, also in that pack. Those are the 3 leaders as we make it for you at this time. Also up there, team number 13, Sigma Nu. We've completed 196 laps. And we approach the conclusion, and Barb, it looks like it's going to be a good one.
This isn't quite what we're used to. Last year, Delta Chi led through the entire race. This year, it's just changed hands.
That's exactly right. The lead has gone back and forth.
Race.
The pace is picking up tremendously at this point. The adrenaline's starting to pump again as the end of this race approaches. They will have completed lap 197 when your leaders come by, and here they come. Team number 8 and team number 4 cross the line together.
That's Phi Kappa Phi and Phi Kappa Psi, teams 8 and 4.
3 laps to go in this 200 lap bicycle race at Indiana University, the Little 500. On the backstretch, Phi Kappa Phi is assuming the lead. Light blue jerseys right behind them. Green and white, it's Phi Psi. Team number 4, they are no stranger to the winner's circle whatsoever. They've been there before. Right behind them in the red and black jersey, that is Alpha Epsilon Pi. They've never won it. The 3 leaders go by. We've completed 198 laps. We have 2 laps to go. At the completion of this next lap, Howdy Wilcox should be showing the leaders the white flag for this bicycle race. You hear the crowd noise picking up, the excitement, the pace is picking up as they enter turn number 3.
And it's coming down to man.
It is bunching up a little bit too. We're starting to get that pack effect again as they go through these turns. There are your leaders crossing the line. Team number 4, the Phi Psi, in the lead. 1 lap to go. 1 lap to go. We're on the final lap. Steve into that number 1 turn. The green and white of the Phi Psi lead it through. They're followed very closely by team number 8, Phi Kappa Phi.
They're past their pit, Doug. Look at the crowd on the back straightaway.
Team number 7 right up with them, although losing a little bit of ground. Now, there is one team that has moved in between your 2 front bicycle teams. Don't worry about them. The leader coming around, the Phi Psi, and they're going to win the 28th running of the Indiana University Little 500. There it is, the checkered flag. The Phi Psi win it as we have a wreck at the start-finish line to mark the conclusion of the race. Phi Kappa Psi wins it, 200 laps. The green and white jerseys on the backstretch as they go around. Team number 4, you can see the jubilation. That last lap on a tick of the watch under 34 seconds. That's in excess of 23 miles per hour. A tremendous finish to this Little 500 bike race. Let's take another look. Steve, let's watch this replay of the finish as they come through turn number 4. Right in the lead there and pumping hard, the Phi Psi.
Doug, they're coming up. They're 100 yards from the start-finish line. We ought to be picking up Howdy Wilcox with a checkered flag.
He looks up and he knows he's got it as he pumps hard for the finish line. As you see it on our instant replay slow-mo, there it is, checkered flag. Phi Psi has win it, team number 4. Don't have an official time yet for you on that. We'll get the time of the race in just a moment. All righty. That is the conclusion. That's the winning lap. You just saw it there. The Phi Psi have won it. The 28th running of the Indiana University Little 500, and we'll be back in just a moment. There you see Phi Kappa Psi for the 7th time in the 28-year history of this event. They have won it. Steve, a comment.
Doug, a great trophy dash at the end, and the Phi Psi class showed through, winning the 7th time.
Barbara, great race.
Sure has been, and they're really getting into it out there.
Gloria Joseph's down on the field right in front of them. Gloria?
It's green and white out here on the infield. The Phi Psi won the 1978 Little 500 race. You'll notice a purple and gold. Sigma Nu came in 2nd. Watch now, they're having a great time.
Thank you very much, Gloria. briefly, the way we make the finish of the race, the Phi Kappa Psi's win it, and second place is up for grabs between Phi Kappa Phi and the Sigma News. One of the two got second, one of the two got third. We don't have an official ruling. Alpha Epsilon Pi is the fourth place finisher. We believe that Dodd's House, team number 17, who wasn't even in it last year, finished in the 5th position. So that concludes the 28th running of the Indiana University Little 500. I'd like to thank Gloria Joseph, Barbara Stock, Steve Frobeater, our statistician Ken Justice, who gave us a super job all day, keeping us updated on where things were, our producer and director Bob Wade, and our executive producer Don Tillman. For all the crew that was here at the Indiana University Little 500 today, I'm Doug Rafferty. Thanks for joining us.
This has been highlights of the Little 500 pre-race activities and bicycle race held earlier today at Indiana University. This telecast has been produced by WTTV Channel 4.